The guy is TNT champion for a reason.
Play-Doh Wrestling. Play-Doh Wrestling.
AEW Dynamite was last night, and I gotta say, probably one of my favorite AEW Dynamites I've seen in the past month, at least, month and a half, 2 months. I loved Edge's match with Christian, really just the outcome of the match. I believe that with a story like this, where you have two guys who have known each other most of their lives, dating back to when they were children, you want to make the story exciting, because the worst thing you can do with a story that's, oh gosh, as deep as that one, there's something with as many layers as that one, between, the kinship that Edge and Christian have formed, or I should say Adam Copeland and Christian Cage have formed. I do think, for what it's worth, I do think every story in professional wrestling has a purpose, right? In terms of the greater, at-large story being told by each of these promotions. And what that means, I would say that depends on the stories themselves. In this particular instance, we have two best friends fighting it out to see who's the best, to see who is really the one who's living in whose shadow. A lot of people believe that's Christian. Again, that has been the case, that he has been living in Edge's shadow, and that always has been the case. But I think people in AEW understand it might make more sense for the story to have Christian win, to have Christian continue to do well against the guy who he grew up with, the guy who, the consensus is much better than Christian is. Edge being, one of the better guys in WWE for a long while. Again, you have Edge, who's an A-tier level wrestler, and at least as a babyface, Christian is not on his level. I think having him as a heel, the decision to make him turn heel against Jungle Boy last year was phenomenal. I loved that. I think it works perfectly with his character. And we're at a place right now where these guys, both over 45 years old, clearly still have a good amount left in the tank, and they're willing to extend their story to their audiences. It's remarkable. And as a fan, as somebody who's been following each of these guys for years, it's special. And I think we should tune in to AEW. We should be tuning in to Collision on Saturday to see what they have in store for that. It's a weekend wrestling. You can't be upset with that, right? But again, I think Christian is at his best when he is a heel. He cuts the best promos. He talks just the right amount of shit to make people care. And we saw that last year when he assaulted Jungle Boy. Right? So, again, I think having Christian Cage as a heel, I think this is a very, very, I should say, sustainable character. This is something that's going to stay with him. And for good reason. He is much better as a heel. Edge, Adam Copeland, forgive me, has always been a babyface in my book. I know he's been a heel early on in his career, but he's always struck me as a guy who plays well within the babyface structure. Now, as to whether or not I think he will become TNT champion, I don't know. I actually don't know, and that's what's so fascinating about AEW when you compare it with WWE. I think AEW is a lot more unpredictable than WWE. And the reason that that's a good thing is if you want surprises, if you want things to happen like what happened with CM Punk at Survivor Series, If you want that to happen every week for every show, you're kidding yourself, because that level of shock doesn't come too often, let alone when you have a wrestler like Punk come back. That's a big, big deal. To have him come back at the very end of the show, not a lot of people were expecting him to return. But again, in AEW, you have a lot less fans. There are photos online of all of the empty chairs during Collision, during Dynamite. And I believe it. WWE has all the star power now. And it's only a matter of time until Tony Khan and some of the executives at AEW start taking some more risks and not playing it safe. And it seems like they're starting to do that, but again, unless they continue to tell these stories in a compelling and provocative way, we're not going to go anywhere. And Christian's story is just one of many. Edge's story, Adam Copeland's story, is just one of many.